Love Your Kitchen, Designing the Heart of the Home, proudly sponsored by Blum, the podcast where we explore the art of crafting your dream kitchen. I'm your host, Faye Newman, a freelance kitchen designer with a passion for creating spaces that truly reflect the heart of the home. If somebody is walking in that space and you're cooking, as you say, like what's in the way? Like, do they logically know subconsciously how to walk around that space?
I think most spaces now have to be flexible.
Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot in design, and flexibility is massive in the sense that, you know, we use it for this purpose today, but what's it going to be used for in 5 years' time?
Design has evolved as well. It's less about what you can just select in a catalogue. It's all about tailoring it to each individual now. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Love Your Kitchen podcast. As ever, thank you very much for joining me. So today's conversation is going to be all about kitchen flow in a modern home. So it's a subject that is relatable for everybody. Every single kitchen, regardless of whether you're a cook, a social butterfly, you know, whether it's just for show, like it's still really important to make sure that the overall flow of your space, whether it's just your kitchen diner, you know, a big open plan space, you've got to make sure that the overall sort of kitchen flow works for you and your lifestyle, which is going to be the topic of conversation today. And we filmed this at Grand Designs Live in Birmingham, where me and Luke, so Luke is a KBSA judge, as well as owning his own independent kitchen company. So he comes with a wealth of knowledge in regards to this topic. So me and Luke discuss the overall nature of what kitchen flow is and some really key and tangible design tips that you can, you know, take into your kitchen, whether that's distances from island to sink, like we've got here, or whether it's, you know, looking at certain appliance positions and sort of our take from an expert perspective on that. So hopefully by the end of this episode, you just can go at your design and think, yes, I'm going to start including some of this logical sort of fundamental steps into your kitchen design. So let's get into the episode. Hello, everybody. We've got a great turnout for this talk today.
It is.
I know, we've done well, haven't we, Luke? Everyone's come to see us. So just to give you a bit of a sort of update, what we're filming today is a live podcast episode for the Love Your Kitchen podcast.
Live?
Live, I know, I didn't actually tell you this.
Hi, Mum!
But it would just be me and Luke speaking today, and we want to get you as involved as possible in the conversation. So please don't feel intimidated about asking silly questions or anything like that. They're never silly, and they're always, you know, really helpful for us to understand what you need from us from this talk. So to cover the topic of today's conversation is kitchen flow for the modern home.
Is that what we're talking about
That
today?
is what we're talking about.
Glad you've told me and given me a heads up.
Absolutely. It's a good job I'm here, isn't it? I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
and that's essentially just looking at your whole space holistically and making sure that the function is prevalent for when you're considering designing your kitchen. We've got some kitchen examples on the screens as well, which are showing some that are design CGIs like that, but then also some real projects that
Beautiful.
I've worked on before. Okay, amazing. So before we start then, as I mentioned, I want to get you guys involved. So who here is doing a self-build at the moment? Can we do just a show of hands? We won't
Any
pick on you
builders?
after.
Very brave.
Amazing. We've got one self-builder. Who's doing a kitchen extension? So some building work, etc. So we've got kitchen extensions here.
There, 2 over there. Well
Amazing.
done. 3.
And then, we've got 3. And then rip out refits. Is there anybody doing a sort of
New kitchen,
keep in there?
new kitchen.
Amazing. And everybody else is just sat here eating their lunch, yeah? Perfect.
Why not?
Why not? You're walking around a lot during these events, so that completely makes sense. So let's start with the first question then. Luke, like, where would you suggest homeowners start when thinking about sort of the flow of their new kitchen design? Question.
Well, before I kick off, I'm going to introduce myself.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that would be helpful.
So,
I know who you are.
why am I here and why am I the resident expert? I don't know, actually. They keep bloody asking me to come back. My name's Luke Wedgberry, and I own 2 independent kitchen retail stores. So I'm a designer. I'm design director for both of my businesses. I own a company called Coalville Kitchens based over in Leicestershire, and I also own a Kutchenhaus, which is a German brand. Kutchenhaus are just around the corner. They're here at this show. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm also a board member of a very boring organisation called the KBSA. So if you're in the market for a new kitchen and you go to one of these retailers, check the part of the KBSA. They're a trade association, and they're essentially looking after you, making sure you're buying from a good company. I have to do all of that. And you know those designers you see, those kitchen designers that win all those awards?
I do.
I'm the guy who has to go around and go, right, okay, is this kitchen design worthy? And they all butter me up. We're getting a coffee, Luke? And I go,
I can't believe they're asking you to do that, Luke. You probably looked at one of my designs beforehand, because I was sent it back in the day.
No, you are a resident expert. In fact, how many talks have we done together so far? I mean, we're here for 3 days, Faye and
We've done 3 talks together.
Yesterday as well?
Yeah.
We were talking. We are the new Kirsty and Phil. You'll see us shortly on screen.
I did say not to mention that during this, but no worries.
Sorry.
No,
I've completely lost. What was the question?
No, that's fine. Well, you were introducing yourself, but I should probably introduce myself as well, which would be super helpful for you. So, of course, I'm the host of the Love Your Kitchen podcast, but I'm also an independent kitchen and bedroom designer. So I'm almost like a consultancy. So I don't do any of the supply myself. I solely help you, the design, to find, the best design for your space, help you with all of those decision-making elements that can just be, costly mistakes if they're not done correctly, and also help you find the right suppliers. I should probably give Howdens a shout out as well at this part.
Absolutely.
So first question then, I'll repeat it again because we've probably forgot it now.
Go.
Where would you suggest homeowners start when thinking about the flow of their new kitchen design?
Okay, so when most clients come to us and we sit down and we do something called a discovery session, and you should do the same with any kind of retailer. Discovery sessions are just the best. Don't go in with a plan and go, I want it to look like this. Don't go in with a preconceived idea of this is how I want it to look and that's how it's going to look. Sit down and have a discovery session and ask as many questions as possible. Designers, you know this, we absolutely love to be asked questions.
Yes.
Because we'll pretty much have the answers, but it allows us to build a picture. So to answer the question directly, the best place to start during that discovery session is finding out the client's brief. So who lives in the kitchen? Who's using the space? How many people live in the kitchen at certain times of the year? Yes. Are you a social person? Do you like to socialize in the kitchen? Is the kitchen just for cooking?
Yeah.
Is the kitchen just for show? You'll be amazed how many people come to us as a retailer and say, listen, I want a kitchen that looks like this, but then I want to go through a door here, and I want a spice kitchen where I actually do my cooking. That's very common because people want it to look lovely. So the best place to start is really digging deep into how you want to use the space when it's finished. Not how you use it now, when it's finished. Because let's be honest, kitchens are not cheap.
Yeah.
A kitchen project is not a cheap undertaking. And whether you're spending £10,000 or £80,000, it's irrelevant. It's a big number. So you have to make sure you get the most value out of that expenditure. And the best way to do that, find an expert. So if it's a bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, doesn't matter, but sit down with that expert who's an expert in that field. Yeah. Someone like the lovely Faye, big plug, hi podcast, and ask the questions and figure out how you want to use the space. Yes. And don't go in with preconceived ideas. That's 100%. The best way to attack it.
I couldn't agree with that more. And I think it's all about us as designers to just really understand you. Like, that is literally what the first session is about. It's understanding what annoys you currently, that obviously the reasons for change as well. You're nodding, you're like, lots of things are annoying me at the moment with my kitchen. Have you got drawers falling off, etc. It's really about us just completely understanding the reasons as to why you're changing that space so that we can do our jobs.
Absolutely.
And then we can, make the best, most usable space and create the best kitchen flow, for your upcoming kitchen. I've also got a free guide that you can download about this as well, on where to start and money-saving tips. So that'll be if you scan the QR code on the little cards that you've got on your benches. There's just a quick guide there on where to start with that sort of thinking process, which works out well. So I think we explained that very well
so.
for everybody.
I think so.
You'll have to let us know if you need any more advice at all.
When we get to the questions.
Next one is, when considering the kitchen flow for a modern home, is the classic working triangle a thing of the past? Like, what's your...
Oh, wow.
The laugh suggests
Okay,
that
yes, I'll
it
tell you
is.
what. Hands up if you've heard of the classic working triangle. Right, everybody, right? Hands up if you know where it originated from. Yeah, no, you wouldn't. Why would you? It's not kind of your job. It's our job.
Yeah.
So in 1940, go back to the 1940s. There's a few of you who might have been around in the 1940s. I'm joking, I'm obviously joking. There was a university study done where they said, basically, we need to figure out what's the best way to use the kitchen. And bearing in mind, it was in the 1940s. It was in the States, in Illinois. So I'm guessing that it was done by 5 or 6 middle-aged white men who said, my wife's not cooking my food quick enough. How can we make her cook it quicker? And all they did is figured out that actually the fridge, the cooktop, and the sink need to be closer together. That was the end of the study. And they said, how can we make people realize they can get it closer together? Can we get them to draw an imaginary triangle? And that's where it came from. To answer your question, do we use it today as designers? No. Very rarely, as a designer, do we sit down and go, this is the triangle, and this is what you have to do. That's because now, back in the 1940s, when that kind of, that concept was born, they didn't have separate hobs and they didn't have separate ovens.
Yeah.
They had one stove. The oven was there, and you cooked, you boiled your stuff on top. And then they had what they called a fridge larder, which was somewhere that kept the food cool. And then they obviously had a sink. The kitchen is completely evolved now. So the magic triangle, I mean, it can work in some instances, but mostly it can't, because now we're thinking about hobs, ovens, fridges, freezers, sinks, dishwashers, and pantries, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So recently, we did a discovery session with somebody, and we talked about this triangle, and the client was adamant, I know what I need, Luke. I need the hob, I need the fridge, and I need the sink. So we started talking to her about how she used the kitchen. Yeah. And to our surprise, even as designers, we talked about how she used the fridge and freezer. And she said, well, actually, I don't keep much in the fridge. Right, what do you keep in the fridge? And she went, milk. Great. And then she was really struggling. She said, no, we don't. Salad? No, I don't like my salad in the fridge.
It's so interesting when you ask these questions.
So then we said, well, how often do you use the freezer? And she said, every single time I cook, I'm in and out the freezer. And we were like, why? Well, because we use the freezer to freeze our leftovers. We make loads of butternut squash for the children, and we put in these kind of, the Tupperware containers and use that. We use lots of frozen food. So when they're cooking freezer, in and out the freezer all the time. So the fridge actually was a very small afterthought in the kitchen. It was integrated under counter fridge, but the freezer was next to the oven and the hob. So we made sure the freezer was in the right place. Nothing to do with the fridge.
I think this is where sort of, kitchen design has evolved as well. It's less about what you can just select in the catalogue, the 4 colours that are available, the 4 different door styles that are available. Few nods, so I can see that that's obviously how you purchased maybe or designed your kitchen previously. It's all about tailoring it to each individual now. And that means that it doesn't need to be a completely bespoke, handmade kitchen. It's for everybody, which is just so amazing for us as designers. Like, we get to create your dream space now, and there's so many different options at different, price points and things out there, which means that we can tailor your design and, to exactly sort of how you want it. And it's so true. It's some of the fundamentals and sort of where we start, of course, is about, seeing your specification. What style of hob do you want? Do you want to be maybe cooking at, the venting hob here, looking out at maybe a TV, or maybe you want to be watching the children, doing their homework at the table, like whatever your sort of lifestyle looks like. If we as designers understand those daily habits and see how you use that space, that's how we can create a modern sort of kitchen workflow that can just really work and resonate for how many members of the family you have, as we mentioned, and, for how you use that space. So I think that's a, really great way to talk about the working triangle, because I couldn't agree more. There's so many sides.
Absolutely, there is. It's not a triangle.
It's not a triangle.
It's a working hexagon now. Think about that, and that gets complicated.
It's probably even more than that, I'd say, to be fair. Amazing. And then when it comes to looking at the overall sort of design then, would you say, is the single biggest design factor that homeowners can incorporate to create the best flow for their kitchen? So of course we've mentioned about where to start. We've obviously mentioned our opinions on the working triangle and how the industry, sort of relates to that now.
Yeah.
So what would you say is sort of the biggest single, factor that they can think about in order to make it highly functional for them?
Okay. So the highly functional part at the end is really interesting, because highly functional means it's easy to use.
Yeah.
Things make things simple, and you don't want to be kind of tripping over each other.
Yeah.
So I tell you what, Howdens won't lie. I mean, Howdens are an amazing company, and this kitchen is brilliant, by the way, and it's been installed beautifully, and it's a great kitchen. But I'm going to give you an example of maybe why this kitchen wouldn't work. So, Faye, will you role play with me?
I can role play
We're
with
a
you.
couple.
Oh, well,
Okay.
I'm not sure I want to anymore.
And you are at the hob, and you're cooking, right? Okay.
Yeah.
You're cooking, so
Okay,
you
I'll
stand
by
there.
the hub.
And underneath the
cooking
hob,
away.
you can't see this, but underneath the hob, there's drawers. There's big pan drawers, okay? You're there cooking, and I need to unload the dishwasher, okay?
Yeah,
So
that's
you're cooking
true.
away, and I'm unloading the dishwasher, and now I need to get this out the dishwasher. Can you come on out of the way a second? I've got to put this away. You'll shout at me in a minute if this isn't away. Appliance placement is absolutely...
Yes.
You've got to focus on that. Even the simple things. Who here is right-handed? A few right-handed people lifted their left hand to tell me they were right. They did.
How ironic.
Who's here? Who's left-handed? Oh, I feel sorry. The world's not built for you, is it? You lefties. It's just not built for you. Simple tip, right? In regards to flow. If you're right-handed, and if there's a couple, right? If there's a couple and you're both right-handed, the dishwasher, when you're stood at the sink, needs to go on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Trust me, the science has been done. So if I'm stood here and I'm washing away and I rinse the pot, I put it onto my draining board, I open the dishwasher and I put the pot into the dishwasher and I close the dishwasher. My feet haven't moved at all. I'm rigid. I haven't used much muscle. If I'm left-handed and I'm rinsing away, I've got to put that onto there, and I'm stretching a little bit now because I'm naturally left-handed. Now I need to put it in the dishwasher. I'm going to have to move my body, bend down, put it in there, move back again. And it will be the same if you're on the right as well. So if you're both right-handed, make sure the draining grooves or the draining board's on the right-hand side and the dishwasher's underneath there. And if you're both left-handed, it has to go on the other side, okay? Just because it's going to function better. That's a great tip. It's got to go on the left-hand side. And if one's right-handed and one's left-handed, let's see who wins. Who's going to load the dishwasher, you know?
It's
and,
true.
It's true. And just on the dishwasher, do we have any restackers here? Were you on my talk earlier? No. Okay. Here's what I mean by restackers.
I was going to say, what's a restacker?
Okay. Guys, you're going to feel my pain here. This guy knows what I'm talking about, because you're a restacker, and you know what I mean. I'm a restacker, because my wife will say to me, Luke, I've loaded the dishwasher, and she walks past really proud. I've loaded the dishwasher.
Oh, no.
And I then go, oh, shit. I have to sneak back into the kitchen, open the dishwasher, and reload it and remove everything, because all she does is throws everything in. We open the dishwasher the next morning, and there's stuff all over the plates, and the bowls are upside down, and the wine glasses are full of water, and it drives me insane.
Yeah.
So now do you understand? Guys, any restackers here? Yes, you're a restacker.
I was going to say, my dad's in the audience. He's
Yes.
definitely a restacker. He was for me when I came back after
Mainly
uni.
the guys, mainly the guys who have to restack, because we're quite like regimental, right? This is good. No, the plates are too close together. Spread them out.
It doesn't make sense though, because you're not normally that fussy about anything else. So
We've gone completely off piece because I'm really passionate about
no,
that.
that's fine. But I think
So-
you've made some really great design points there, and it's all about, as you mentioned, the making sure that everything's sort of placed in a way that's as efficient as possible. So not having to move your actual foot in order to get to the left-hand side. So going back to the sink section, what I like to do as well is also incorporate an integrated bin to the left-hand side. So if you are, whether you're the restacker or the, the original person, going into the dishwasher, having your bin right next to your sink system. So say if you've got, 3.6 or you've got three 600mm cabinets. You've got your integrated bin on the left-hand side, you've got your sink cabinet, and then you've got your dishwasher. You can re-scrape in, rinse, and then, pop straight into your dishwasher from there. And that's something really simple.
It's
that
perfect. It
just works.
It's systemization of the kitchen.
And I do that in every kitchen design pretty much, which you probably do as well.
Yeah, we do. And we're a little bit behind in the UK because the Germans have been doing it for years.
Yeah.
So that model you've just explained, you stand at the kitchen, you have the bin one side, the sink in the middle, and the dishwasher the other side. It just works in harmony. They've been doing it for years, and we're just catching on. We're just catching up with them. But they're better at everything, aren't they, Germans?
Something else to think about as well is how you're actually going to use every single cabinet. So when you're looking at your cabinet, note down exactly what it is that you're looking to store within that space. So once you've got your initial design from your designer, write down, this is the place for pots, this is a place for fancy tableware, this is a place for day-to-day tableware, really label and go through it as thoroughly as you can, because that's when, from a storage perspective as well, you can really hone in on what exactly needs to go within that space. And I think that's always, really important, and that will help the overall sort of flow of the kitchen as well. So you being like, okay, so I cook with X, Y, and Z. Like, for instance, when you've got a island sort of cooker like this, or you've got a venting hob, there's no wall cabinets where you usually would store like your spices, oils, that sort of thing, and you might not want them on the side. So looking at, drawers with spice wedges in, you can get some from Amazon. That's, really cost effective. Looking at having drawers or maybe on the one side so that you can, stack those spices correctly, or have a spice rack incorporated right next to your hob there. It's thinking about it logically and think, okay, how do I actually cook a meal? What does it look like? Like when we're going to make breakfast in the morning, like with a beautiful breakfast station there, if you can
I
open
will demonstrate that for you. There you go.
So you know that how you want to use that space. Like, could you have a drawer that's more accessible that can come out to you? So therefore you can use it a lot better, a lot easier. If you've got kids that make their own breakfast, you can be like, right, go make your breakfast because it's over there where Luke is. And then you can crack on, loading the dishwasher and things there if needed. So it's really just looking at your space logically, which is, of course, is what we as designers can help you with as well, in order to just enhance the overall flow of the space.
Yeah, and it's often a secondary thought, the functionality of the kitchen. Most clients who we sit down with say, will you make it look gorgeous? Will you just make it look pretty? I really want my friends to come in and go, wow, your kitchen looks amazing. That, honestly, that's dead easy. If you sit down with the designer and go, will you make it, I want it to look wonderful, we just go, well, we can do that, no problem. I can definitely sell you a kitchen if you want it to look pretty. I will do it here and now, no problem. But we don't, because we have to have these conversations about functionality and how it works. So if you're in the market for a kitchen, new build, extension, reno, because you have a new kitchen, think about how it's going to work. It's a great question.
No, for sure. And I'm happy now that it's such a prominent way that us as designers work, because it never used to be.
No, we have to now.
We have to make sure that it's accessible for everybody, and it's as efficient as possible for you. And also, kitchens are just a space now that have so many different entities happening in the one area. So you might have your lounge in sort of the said same space if you're going for an open plan living space. You might have a sit-down dining table. You might want a couple of stools at the end here if you've got, again, children doing homework, like or somebody's...
I will demonstrate.
Yeah, we've got some that side. I didn't even realise. Perfect. So you're the child doing homework.
Absolutely. What's
Amazing.
doing,
Mum? And then, and things like that. It's You've lost my train of thought now.
Sorry, Mum.
That just completely threw me off, you being a child at the end of the island. But yeah, so, there's so many different factors to consider in an open plan living space. So I suppose the question is, when we're looking at sort of the space holistically, which means like everything all as one, not just separate parts of a room, how do you sort of zone those spaces? Like, what would be your way to advise clients on how best to zone design and just enhance the overall flow across the whole room?
Yeah, I think that's a big concern now, because most clients, maybe you're in the same boat. When you go to do some self-build or an extension or renovation work, what you're looking for is a big open plan space, right? It's pretty much what we all want. It's very rare that we're going to keep the kitchen small, but sometimes budget means we have to. But most clients say to us now, I want a big open plan space, and this is how I want it to feel. We have to then say to them, listen, we've got to define each zone. Yeah. And there's ways you can do that. The kitchen one is probably the easiest. Client brief list. The island is probably number one on our client brief list. Most clients come to us and say, right, in your dream kitchen, what would you like? And they go, I would like an island. I'd love an island. I've never had an island. So, okay, we've got to get an island in. Well, that's great, because if this was a big space, i.e. all the way to that back wall, imagine this was a big extension, the island clearly defines the fact that when you get to this point here, that's the kitchen.
Yeah.
So the kitchen one's easy in the sense of that. If this didn't have an island, maybe you could have a peninsula. And a peninsula, if you don't know what that is a connection to the kitchen. This is the kitchen. Peninsula comes off here, and then maybe wraps around there a little bit. Bit of breakfast bar seating here, the hob's still over there, but it's all connected. That's what we call a peninsula design. That can really define the space as well. Now, a really good trick is using flooring, but I don't mean different types of flooring, because when we have these big open plan spaces filled, we all want the same flooring to run throughout. I get it, I do as well. LVT, what we're stood on here now, is probably one of the most popular choices for flooring. Yeah. Who knows what LVT is? Do we know what it is? Yeah, you've heard of it? Right, LVT, it stands for Luxury Vinyl Tiles. That's all it is. And there's loads of brands. Antico, Cardine, Polyfloor, Colonia and Camaro, loads of brands. Basically, it's a flooring that gets glued down, or it can be loose fitted. And it's really hard wearing. It's fully waterproof, and it comes in lots of different textures. So people are going for that over tiles, we're finding. My point is this. If you have the same flooring all the way throughout, don't be afraid to use floor dressings, i.e. rugs. So you'd have a dining table, and maybe put a rug underneath the dining table. Yeah. If you had a seating area with a bit of a coffee table and a couple of sofas, think about having a huge rug. I know it's covering a lot of the floor, but you've seen the size of the rugs you can get. In our open plan living space, we have a rug, I think it's 6 meters by 4 meters. It's ginormous, but the 2 sofas and the coffee table sit on it perfectly, and it defines the space. And it's also really good from a noise perspective. Yeah. Acoustics in big spaces. As designers, we have to think about the noise. It's the last thing you're thinking about, honestly. Nobody's ever come to me and said, Luke, I'm worried about how the kitchen's going to sound. Nobody's ever said that. But we have to think about it. We have to go, right, okay, so that's going to go there, that's going to go there. How can we just tone this down? Soft furnishings. Yeah. Rugs are brilliant for that. So that's a great way of zoning. And the last but not least, it's a very simple one. Don't be afraid to use colour on the walls. Don't be afraid to do that. Yeah. It's very simple. You can break. It doesn't have to be, just because you've had a big extension, it goes all the way to there, it doesn't all have to be the same colour. No. We just kind of go, oh, we'll just whitewash it, we'll spray it all white, and then we'll do something in a couple of years. Let's just get it done. A tin of paint, it doesn't cost anything. It's really, really cheap. Look at the colour on this wall here. It's a really good way of defining different zones. Yeah. So that's a good tip. And then, I did say that was the last one, but this is the last one. Furniture. We believe, we've been kind of programmed as people that sofas go against the wall, and that's where we put them. They don't nowadays. It's not where we put sofas. Sofas can go in the middle of the room, and they can really help with flow, which is what this session's about. So as designers, we talk about something called a POC. You might hear people talking about it. It's called your point of contact. It means that when your kitchen and your project's all fully finished, and you're showing your friends and family around, when they walk in the door and see the space, that's the POC. That's the point of contact. And you've got about 1 point something seconds for them to go, wow, because you want to create the wow factor. Equally, you've got 1 point something seconds for them to go, that's nice.
Walk back out.
And it's not wow. So, using furniture, sofas, to make people move around the space. If you had a sofa in the middle of the room at a certain angle and someone walked in, you'd have to kind of go across the sofa. You're guiding them to where you want them to be. So using freestanding furniture to flow people around the whole space, it's a really easy trick.
I think, it's about sort of as well, like where you're, as you say, where the main traffic is naturally going to be sort of where your doorway is when you're walking into that space. So you've almost got to think about it as well. Like if somebody is walking in that space and you're cooking, as you say, like what's in the way? Like do they logically know subconsciously how to walk around that space? And this is where you mentioned obviously the rug side of it. Lighting is also a really great way to zone certain sections as well. That can really identify different different formats for the space, which is great. But equally, yeah, it's the logic and sort of the system on how people, whether it's yourself, your pets, like your, everybody, like how does that space flow as an overall, which I think really helps. And one top tip as well to speak to your designer about is if you're using or incorporating any existing furniture from the, say if you've got a dining table, like anything like that, or specific bar stools, let your designer know, because then they can add that into the design from a dimension perspective. And then it just helps you see sort of how the overall flow is within that space, which I think is,
absolutely
is great from that perspective.
You just mentioned pets.
I know, I love mentioning pets. I mentioned pets a lot yesterday.
Yeah, I've got 2 dogs, very important to me. So any of these, so extensions and new builds and kitchen reno guys, any of you got pets? Yeah, absolutely. It's really important to think about that. Not just about and I don't mean where's the dog gonna sit, I don't mean that. I mean, but where are you gonna put the dog food? You need a space. If you haven't got a utility room, it's in the kitchen, where you need a dog food cupboard because it's not going in your breakfast pantry. I'll tell you that now. You also need to figure out whereabouts in the kitchen are the dog beds going to go, or cat beds. And equally, the big pet hate for me is where's the dog bowls going to go?
Yeah.
I've lost count the amount of times I've walked into someone's kitchen and tripped over the dog bowls.
I know, this happened.
Because it's just like an afterthought. They go, we designed the kitchen and the dog bowls are going to go there. And you're kicking it over all the time. You really have to think about these things. And if you let the designer know, they'll say, do you know where the best place for the dog bowl would be? Maybe we'll just do a little bit of a cutout here and we can have them there out the way so you're not going to kick them. And then you could even be one step ahead and go, we'd have a mains fed tap down there. So you can go, so I've just kicked that over, you see.
There we go. I didn't identify it properly.
Yeah, and you can have main fed water feeders that just top the dog bowl up.
Yeah.
I'm doing that in my kitchen. I'm sick of bending down and picking the bloody dog bowl up and going to the sink and rinsing it out, filling it back up again. We're literally having a tap designed at the very back of the island. Dog bowl's underneath. We're just going to turn it on, fills the water up, turn it back off again. I'll put that in the dishwasher once a month. Maybe once a week. Depends how bad the dogs are, but we'll see. Makes my life easier.
Yeah.
Really easier. Just from one simple design thought. So the pets is a great thing.
And also, if you're going for underfloor heating as well, you don't want your dog bowls to be warm. So if you've got water sat there, that's something to think about as well. And I think that's quite overlooked. So if you maybe have already gone ahead with your underfloor heating, maybe look about getting dog bowls that are like raised up, for instance, just so then, again, we're thinking about everything. So I think it is always an afterthought, I'd say, the poor pets of the household, even though they give us so much love, but there we go. And then let's go back to the overall sort of the differences of what a space we need a modern kitchen to be now. Okay. So we've obviously got the cooking, the socialising side, that sort of thing. So say if you've got somebody that's come to you as a client and they're like, okay, I'm a really avid cooker, like I love to cook, but I also like to socialise as well. So how do you cater for both sort of enjoyments, I suppose?
Yeah, I think most spaces now have to be flexible. Yeah. And we talk about that a lot in design, and flexibility is massive in the sense that, we use it for this purpose today, but what's it going to be used for in 5 years' time? So this is a great example. If you've got a breakfast bar area, that maybe if your children are of a certain age and they can sit there and they can do their homework whilst they're chatting to you and you're cooking, and actually you're doing 2 things at once because you're helping them with their homework, because they're asking you, Daddy, what is this? And you're helping them, but you're still cooking. But then moving further forward, let's say the kitchen design remains the same for God knows how many years, then obviously for social parties, dinner parties, things like that, this doubles up as kind of when you're cooking for friends that come around for a glass of wine and a dinner party. So flexible spacing is really important. Banquet seating is really great for that.
Yeah, that's
who's
true.
heard of banquet
I was going to
say,
let's see who's heard
banquet
of banquet
seating. Have you heard of banquet seating and how we can get it into kitchens? So a lot of people now are saying, can we have the dining experience part of the kitchen? And how we do that is we basically build in kitchen seating. So let's use this island as an example. If, for example, this island kind of went to here, and it then there's a bit of a half moon shape there. And in the half moon shape, we had fitted seating with lovely pleated kind of material. And then the dining table was a big circle here with chairs all the way around it. That is an absolute multifunctional space, because not only then do you have an island that has breakfast seating, and a breakfast bar for the kids and social occasion. Equally as well, when you've had a dinner party and people are sat right there and you've got to go and just warm the second course up, the conversation is you're still having right next to you. So then all of a sudden it becomes really multifunctional. So there's lots of, that's really important in the kitchen. It's really important. I'm a big fan of banquet seating. It's really, really taken the kind of design world by storm. People wanting that fixed area for the dining table.
I think as well, it's just a wow factor as well. So we went to the aesthetic side of it earlier, and we want to still, even though we want it to be highly functional, you still want to get that wow, or you want to get that the kitchen that's on the screen at the moment. Actually, I interviewed these on the podcast recently, and they just said that every time they walk into their space, they're now 2 years on after their kitchen, they just absolutely love it. They get that that enjoyment out of the space, and it's so important. And forward thinking these sort of considerations with your designer, as you mentioned, like the banquette seating, maybe you could even add that as like a different color or a different material, so you can really take your design to the next level as well, which is super helpful from that perspective. And I'm just sort of thinking, I'm working with a client at the moment who's concerned about how many seats they've got going on everywhere. They're sort of like, have I got too many lights going on? Have I got too many seats going on? But I think again, it's just working through, how is it that you and your family use the space? Do you want sort of small children on high chairs? Probably not. You probably want them to be sat on a cozy cushioned section here.
Exactly. Again, it's multifunctional.
Like rounding off, your worktops, making sure that, again, that from a safety perspective, that's being considered. All of these factors really do help with the overall kitchen flow of that space. I think it's probably time as well to start talking about sort of some technicalities when it comes to the modern flow of a kitchen. So let's talk about walkways, let's talk about appliance positions, but more specifically to make sure that everybody sort of here can introduce good choices into their kitchen design that they don't regret after the honeymoon phase.
So in regards to technology, it's such a fast-paced thing now. It changes so quickly. So does everyone know what this hob is in regards to, it's called a downdraft hob. Do we know what this is? No? So did you know, there's a few nods, so did you know now you don't, if you had a hob in your island or even on the back wall, you don't need the big extractor fan above you because technology has moved on so well, there is literally a fan in the middle of this hob. This is how big the grill is. It sits on the hob. You can't see it. But if this was here and it was boiling away and that was all steam, it would suck it down and then get dispersed and recycled into the space. Filtered and recycled. Or it could be ducted through the floor and go out. But that means that you don't have to have the big extractor fan above, the big things that hang down that you can't see people and they kind of get in your way. That has a massive impact. I know it sounds tough, it has a big impact on flow because if you've got a big extractor fan there and people are sat over there, they can't sit over there because you can't see them. So they've got to move somewhere else and then you have to move the seating. So things like that are really, really important. Ovens. You can have your ovens now that you can control on Alexa. You can have your ovens that are so clever. They start when you ask them to start. You can even have an oven that, obviously, you can put the chicken in there, and you have a probe that goes into the chicken. It goes into the chicken, and then when it's cooked at the right temperature, the oven just stops. That's making your life easier, right? Combination microwaves. Does everyone know how a combination microwave works? Probably not, because we have to educate people on this all the time.
Let's do that now.
A combination microwave will do this. It will be your oven, it will be your grill, and it will be your microwave. But most people go, oh, that's great, so I can use it as a microwave, take the beans out, I can put my lasagna in, and then I can also take that out, and then I can grill my toast. And that's not what they're designed for. And we'll use the chicken as a great example. This is a combi microwave. I open it up, I take this tray out, I bang a chicken in there, and I close it. And then the setting I use on that, A is a microwave setting, then I use the oven setting and the grill setting all at the same time, not separately. So that chicken can be done in about 35 minutes, a whole chicken, because the microwave cooks it really quickly. The oven in there keeps the moisture, and the grill gives it a crispy skin. It's a game changer, and we don't realize these things exist. So to cook it, if you've got a big enough one, a turkey on Christmas Day, that's amazing. You can do it really quickly. So technology, it moves so fast. My favourite, and everyone knows about this, or they should do.
Do I know about this? Oh, I do.
Who knows about
this.
boiling water taps? Yeah, I mean, who knows there's a brand called Kuka? Have you heard of Kuka? That's how you say it, by the way, Kuka. Most people come to us and say, Luke, that tap, how do you pronounce it?
Kuka.
Kuka?
Kuka, they don't.
Kuka, they go Kuka. It's a Kuka tap. It's a Kuka tap. Now, that tap there, this particular tap will give you your hot water and your cold water. Great, any tap does that. And then it gives you your boiling water, and it's 100 degrees boiling water. It sits in a tank underneath. And then on top of that, it will give you chilled filtered water, like it's come out of the fridge. And then on top of that, it will give you chilled sparkling filtered water. Now, that's technology just gone wild, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I've got one, and it's a game changer.
Yeah.
They are amazing. We use it all the time. They're so healthy. In regards to the sparkling water, that's brilliant because we don't buy a fizzy pop anymore.
Yeah.
We just use a little bit of no added sugar cordial. We use the sparkling water, which is used, they use gas. It's gas. No, there's no chemicals in there. It's gas. And then you have your sparkling drink, and it's really healthy for the children. Yeah. So that's a classic kind of, and of course, if you have a Kuka tap, then you don't need a kettle. The kettle's gone. It's redundant.
So you're freeing up potential prep space on the side, which is also really helpful. And yeah, it just they're just perceived as quite ugly now, kettles, aren't they?
They are, yes.
Just to have it hidden and integrated.
Yeah, and of course, Kuka taps. Everyone thinks they're for tea and coffee drinkers.
Yeah.
They're not. They're for the people who want to cook really quickly. So let's say I want to cook some pasta for my children. My children get a lot of pasta. It's easy, right? It's just do a pasta. So if I want to boil some pasta, I go over here, I double tap this. This is filling with boiling water. Not now, by the way. It looks if you want. It's not live. It's filling with boiling water. I put it on there. This is induction, so it's cooking straight away. Yeah. Instantly boiling. No time wasted. So your vegetables, your pasta, your rice, it just makes life easier. And that's the fine line that you have to tread with technology and appliances. Yeah. You have to say to yourself, will it make my life easier? If so, it's worth investing in. You don't have to say to yourself, it's got all of these features, therefore I should buy it. Because you can, like I said before, you can have ovens that speak to Alexa. Now, I've got one that connects to the Wi-Fi. I've never connected it to the Wi-Fi, but it's a feature that's there. I didn't need to buy it. I didn't need that feature there. It's, so technology is great, feature heavy, be really cautious about what you buy. Yeah. And a good designer will point you in the right direction. A good designer won't try and sell you something you don't need. We sell lots of ovens that just have two knobs. Turn the oven on and a temperature. That's it. I've turned that on. That's it. Because sometimes that's all people want. I only use the oven for chips. I put it on 180 and I put my chips in, that's all I use it for. Okay, great. Well, you do not need a Fisher Paykel or singing or dancing oven because it's a £1,600 oven for chips. That's ridiculous. I'll give you this oven at $499. It's a much better product. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's a minefield.
It is a minefield.
It is a minefield.
And as you say, though, you're going back from your point where you mentioned about, it's our job as your designers to run you through that and not try and upsell you something that you're just not going to need. As like there might be some of you, getting really excited about the Wi-Fi element. You want to turn and preheat your oven on while you're on the way home from work because, again, it's working for the efficiency of your home. But then, it's not, as you say, you haven't used all of the other features. It's about just understanding what's out there, then making it really relevant and suitable for what you want and how you cook as well. Like your designer should be asking you what you're cooking, what you're using, and then that's where you can identify sort of the smart appliances within your home as well.
Yeah, and Faye and I talked about this in another session as well. Something that you don't even realise, that technology, how it helped you. Who remembers when they invented the frost-free freezer? Yeah? But before that, what did we have to do? We had to turn it off. We had to get a towel on the floor. And some of us, some crazy people, got a knife out and went through the side and broke it. Now, all of a sudden, freezers are frost-free. We don't have to do that. That's technology. That's worth buying. If I see a freezer now and it says it's frost-free, I'm going to recommend it to my clients. Say, listen, this freezer is frost-free. Yeah. It's £120 more, but in the grand scheme of things, you're not going to get your hands and knees of a towel for the next 10, 15 years. Yeah. That is a great example of how technology helps us every day.
For sure. And just to quickly go through the fundamentals to think about from a space planning perspective, because, we're thinking about the sort of the modern home, is so say if you've got a galley kitchen, for instance, maybe not having your cooking appliances right near sort of the entrance, for instance. Like if you've got where your main entrance is and you've got a American fridge freezer, that sticks out or can stick out quite a bit. So think about if somebody's there at the American fridge freezer opening it, you don't want to have that traffic being interrupted as they're entering into that space. So it's, again, just, logically thinking about it. And I think that's why islands are great. As you say, they identify the zone, but they also keep you over in this section.
Yeah.
But I spoke to a client recently and they were saying that actually still everybody gathers right next to where the party's happening, right next to the hub, which is always the case. But it's just logically thinking about it like that and, really working with your designer to get the best layout for your room. And it's really hard for us to stand up here and be like, we've got the perfect solution for everybody's kitchen, because every property is different, every family is different, and it's just working on those fundamentals, as we mentioned, about the sink sections, cooking appliances, having lots of drawers as well. That's just really helpful, and making sure that you're not interrupting those high traffic areas.
It's a great point. Kitchen design is now so personal.
Yeah.
It's so unique. It's not one size fits all. It's down to the end user. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So to finish on then, have we got anybody that has any questions for us about their particular projects that you want us to help with or that you're willing to share?
Go on, there's a couple of questions. Right, we'll go.
Oh, here we go. Matt,
you in the front
amazing.
first. Put the mic really close to your mouth.
Hiya. Right at the beginning, you talked about design.
Yes.
Would you go to the designer with pictures of your existing kitchen, or just give them dimensions as if your existing kitchen is not there?
What's your take on that, Luke? I know what mine is.
I would say, listen, please bring into me what your kitchen looks like now and tell me how it doesn't help you. Tell me what's wrong with it. What don't you like about it? The oven's at that height, the fridge is over there, I don't like where the hob is, this area is really dark, blah, blah, blah. All of those things. Because if, as I said at the beginning, if you're going to go to the expense of having a brand new kitchen, don't just take one out and put a new one in, everything in the same place. Really think about how you can. It just sounds so simple, but how can design change your life? And design really can. Thinking about the space and thinking about how you use it now in comparison to how you could potentially use it is a game changer. Because it's not going to cost any more money. Because the hob and the oven and everything else that you pick is going to be the same price. It's no different if it goes anywhere else. And it doesn't cost that much to move fixing. So, as a designer, to answer your question directly, would I like to see a picture of your current kitchen before the space? I would, just to ask you those questions.
Yeah. I would completely agree with that as well. I think it's important for us to see what's not working, as you mentioned, for your space. And also, I think because we come with expertise and new eyes anyway, we're going to come with lots of new different ideas. But I can understand why you've asked that question, because sometimes, you don't want everything just going back into the same place. We had another hand up here. Just
really close, put the mic really close.
What's the ideal distance between the island and the worktop?
It's a great question.
Can I take this one, Luke? Do you mind?
Can we argue about it?
We can if you want to.
You go
We've argued
first.
about most things.
You go first.
So it was about the island distance from
this bit here, right?
Here.
This bit here. What's the ideal flow space? We call it flow space.
Yeah.
The space between the island and the kitchen units, or a wall.
I would personally say for a high traffic zone like this, 1100 mil. I think sometimes it can be, which is just over a metre. So 900 mil is considered still fine for a walkway. But if you've got a beautiful big open plan space where maybe you've got, you're lucky enough to have an island within that, I would say personally 1100 mil is a perfect distance. Things to look out for will be dishwasher openings coming down. Like if somebody's moving past you while the dishwasher door is down, you've got to obviously think about those fundamentals. But also it's what you're used to. So if you've got a sort of space at the moment and maybe it's too small, is it too small at the minute? No. But yeah, so it's figuring it out. And I always say, like, if you don't know about those distances, get the masking tape out. It sounds ridiculous, but put on the floor, you know, the masking tape of maybe where your existing kitchen is, and then that'll help you identify sort of which distances you're fine with. And also kitchen showrooms, you know, going around measuring and seeing what distances are there can also be really helpful, because I think we know the fundamentals, but it's hard sometimes for you to visualize. Yeah, so that's probably would be my take. What about you, Luke? We've got to be quick.
So yeah, okay, we'll be quick. If you've got the space, 1.2 for me is perfect. Only because from a design perspective, symmetry works really well from a design perspective. And we work off increments of 600 millimeters for our units here. And then we obviously have islands which can be 6, 9, this one's about 950, or 12. So a 1200 millimeter island would be 2 600 millimeter cabinets back to back. So if you had an island, if I was stood over here looking at this space, if you had an island that was 1.2, it would make perfect sense if you had the space for that bit to be 1.2 as well. And it gives you just 100 millimeters more, which isn't going to affect the flow of kind of, for example, if you were taking something out of the oven and I want to put it there, 100 millimeters more is not going to make much difference. 1.2 is really good to avoid what we call in the design world the shuffle. And the shuffle is this. If somebody is stood at the appliance here, let's say I'm stood here and I'm cooking away, what you don't want anybody to do is to walk past here and have to shuffle to get past. You want somebody to be able to walk, I'm going to be like a robot now, walk normally if you're stood here. 1.1 and 1.2 does that, but from a design perspective in regards to just keeping things in symmetry, 1.2 is the sweet spot if you've got the space. If not, 1.1 is absolutely spot on. Any more than any less than 1100 down to a meter, you really have to question who's using the kitchen. If you've got a busy family of 3 or 4, a meter's tight. A meter is tight. 900 is the smallest we've ever done. 900 is the smallest we would ever recommend, and that's for like couples who, so yeah, it's a great question.
In a main traffic area as well, they can sometimes be smaller if needed around the other areas. Yeah, so I hope that's answered your question. Yeah. So that's it for this episode. I hope you found all of the top tips that we've spoken about really useful, and you're going to start adding those into your project. As I always say at the end of every episode, if you have any sort of topics that you want us to discuss on the show, engage with us. Let us know what it is that you want us to cover so that we can make sure that this podcast is continuing to educate you and to help you with your overall kitchen project. Alternatively, if you do want to work with a designer, I'm a freelance kitchen and bedroom designer, and I work with clients all over the UK, whether that's in person or remotely, and I would love to help you with your projects. How you can work with me is visit my website, which is www.fayenewmandesign.com, and book a 20-minute discovery call, which is free of charge, and it's just for me to understand more about your project and how I can help, and also to go over my design packages. So again, I hope it's been helpful, and we'll catch you next time.